Under the blood-red glow of Ferrari's Maranello garage, hope and dread wove together like creeping tendrils of mist. The 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix had been poised to ignite Ferrari's long-awaited renaissance, especially after Charles Leclerc had stunned the paddock by snatching pole in Friday's qualifying. Yet when the checkered flag fell under Budapest's sweltering sky, the prancing horse stood once more in the shadows of disappointment. All afternoon, the SF25 had danced on a razor's edge. Leclerc launched from the front row with the confidence of a champion reborn, only to feel the car's temperament shift mid-race. For 50 grueling laps, he defended his lead against a horde of rivals, until a subtle tremor in the chassis betrayed a deeper malaise. What began as a battle for victory slowly became a struggle for survival. As the laps ticked away, the unthinkable happened. George Russell's Mercedes W16 slipped past Leclerc in the closing stages, relegating Ferrari's lone frontrunner to fourth place. No triumphant parade, no roar of tifosi, just the deflated sigh of a team caught in an all-too-familiar cycle of hope and heartache. Moments after Leclerc rolled to a halt, the Monegasque hero emerged from his cockpit, face etched with disbelief. "I don't understand," he murmured, voice tight with frustration. One moment, the car was alive, the next, it felt undrivable. His words hung in the humid air like unanswered questions, a veteran's lament, or the prelude to a conspiracy buried beneath red-painted metal. Within minutes, team principal Fred Vasseur stepped forward to offer a diagnosis. He spoke of a structural fault, an unforeseen chassis issue that had robbed the SF25 of its edge. Yet his carefully measured statement only deepened the enigma. Leclerc himself shot a bewildered glance toward the podium steps, as if searching for clues in Vasseur's tone. Questions swirled. Was this a candid revelation or a convenient smoke screen to soothe the Scuderia's anxious heart? Rumors raced through the paddock with feverish intensity. The dominant whisper pointed to tire pressures, a clandestine tweak to defend against excessive plank wear and underbody penalties that the FIA's post-race scrutineers might have balked at. According to this theory, Ferrari had raised the SF25's ride height via overinflated tires, sacrificing race pace to avoid a technical reprimand. Even Russell, who had shadowed Leclerc for the final third of the Grand Prix, alluded to it in his podium interview, a cryptic nod to a setup engineered more for compliance than performance. But why cloak a tactical choice in the guise of a mechanical calamity? The question tugged at the fabric of Ferrari's leadership. Was Vasseur protecting his driver, the team, or something more intangible, an illusion of infallibility in Maranello's hallowed halls? The plot deepened when one considered the SF25's most anticipated upgrade, the new rear suspension. Billed as a cornerstone of Ferrari's 2025 technical revival, it had debuted at Spa-Francorchamps with promising results. Yet Budapest's tight, load-hungry corners had subjected the component to a crucible of lateral forces it may not have been ready to endure. The very innovation meant to enhance traction and stabilize tire wear seemed instead to expose the SF25's hidden vulnerabilities, turning structural stress into a ghost story told on tarmac. For Lewis Hamilton, who endured one of his most harrowing weekends in red, the Hungarian tale took an even darker turn. The seven-time champion struggled to coax any semblance of pace from his car, languishing deep in the midfield. Behind his visor, frustration smoldered, a frustration that his teammate had publicly mirrored. Hamilton's own radio call, "I'm absolutely useless," ricocheted around the world, a stark testament to the mental battle waging inside the garage. Yet Hamilton's cryptic comments hinted at more than a poor weekend. They suggested simmering tensions beneath Ferrari's scarlet veneer. Was the team's communication strategy, shrouded in vague technical jargon, deepening the gulf between leadership and the cockpit? When chassis issue rang as hollow as a bell tolling for past glories, the paddock smelled a cover-up. And in the high-stakes arena of F1, optics can be as lethal as a snapped suspension arm. Data whispered another truth. over the second half of the race, Leclerc's SF25 bled an average of 0.4 of a second per lap without any punctures, engine warnings, or other overt malfunctions. Such a decline begged a stark question: were Ferrari's engineers attempting to mask fundamental flaws with strategic obfuscation? Or was it a tragic miscalculation, an upgrade that, while perfect on paper, faltered under the real-world brutality of Hungarian race conditions? As journalists pressed Vassar for clarity, his gaze flickered toward the sunset-hued horizon. His words were measured, almost rehearsed: "We will investigate every detail, and we will be transparent." But for a team accustomed to the unyielding glare of victory, such promises felt like stalling tactics. The paddock, meanwhile, buzzed with speculation. Had Ferrari's leadership lost its steering, unable to navigate the fine line between regulatory compliance and outright competitiveness? In the quiet of the night, mechanics lingered in the garage, their hands still stained with carbon fiber dust. Their voices were low, almost reverent, as they discussed the season's déjà vu, high expectations followed by gut punches of underperformance. They remembered Spa's fleeting glimpses of promise, only to watch Budapest snatch it away. Each DNF, each slip down the order, had become another verse in a painful refrain, yet amid the swirl of doubt, a resilient chord struck. Leclerc, reflecting on Hungary's cruel twist, reminded the world of Ferrari's legacy of perseverance. "This team has risen from deeper trenches before," he said, channeling memories of Schumacher's era, when failure was but a prologue to dominance. "We will learn. We will rebuild. And we will return stronger." His words were a beacon, but they also underscored the stakes. With Red Bull showing signs of vulnerability and McLaren's resurgence threatening to redraw the grid's hierarchy, Ferrari's championship hopes teetered on a knife edge. Mercedes, meanwhile, had looked beyond 2025, already shifting focus to next year's regulations. For Maranello, time was as much an opponent as Verstappen or Russell. Looking ahead to 2026, the mandate was clear: Ferrari needed radical transparency, unflinching honesty, and a willingness to confront its shortcomings head-on. Cosmetic fixes and cryptic communiques would no longer suffice. The paddock demanded answers, and the tifosi deserved more than a catchphrase about chassis gremlins. In the end, Hungary's saga lay not in who led or who fell, but in the shadows cast by each technical explanation and team statement. The questions left hanging about tire pressures, underbody legality, and structural integrity were more than mere curiosities. They were barometers of Ferrari's internal health. A team that once reigned as F1's gold standard now found itself wrestling with invisible foes, regulatory traps, strategic gambits, and the ticking clock of performance windows. As the season's midpoint approaches, Ferrari stands at a crossroads: choose the path of candid reckoning or wander further into the labyrinth of corporate spin. The paddock's gaze is unrelenting: every lap, every upgrade, every soundbite will be scrutinized. And if Maranello's resolve falters, the legend of the prancing horse may slip from triumphant to tragic. But if ever there was a moment to channel the ghosts of glory past, Hungary provided it. The 2025 SF25 might have buckled under pressure, but Ferrari's spirit, its capacity to endure, adapt, and overcome, remains unbroken. The real race, after all, is not against rivals on the track, but against doubt itself. And in that battle, the stakes could not be higher.